I know that time is precious over lunch, so we'll get going with this. Today's Lunch and Learn is all about environments. Like any of our Lunch and Learns, I just want to say that we're very grateful to ChildFriendly for making sure that these happen on a bi-weekly. And Wayne is here from ChildFriendly today. So at the end, if you do have questions around how you can have, some support with the administration of childcare, feel free to use the chat, put your hand up. Wayne is more than happy to answer those kind of questions. We're also very grateful today to have Tammy Adams here today from Wintergreen, who's going to talk a lot about how to set up your environment, how to furnish it, how to make sure that you have all of the resources in there, and the importance of having high quality pieces in your center too. So I'll start, sorry, a little bit quickly today, and then we'll hand it over to Tammy, and then we'll take any questions you guys have at the end. But like any of our Lunch and Learns, feel free to use the chat, put your hand up at any time. The goal is always, operator to operator to provide some support, talk about the real life on the floor in childcare. And, just to be fully transparent, none of us are here representing the government in any way. We don't work for the government. If we're talking about regulations or any of the rules around childcare, it's just for, information purposes and to make sure that you as operators are supported in understanding that. So we'll get right going with our topic today, which is elevating the environment in your childcare center. We're going to talk about real things you can do, easy fixes, easy implementation that you can do to really make sure that you have an elevated, high quality environment for all of the kids in your care. These are our topics for today. So what does environment mean? We hear that word a lot in childcare, but what does it actually mean? We're going to cover a little bit about calming corners, what they are, how you can implement them, how you can do it on a budget, and how you can do it in a bunch of different ways. Why do we have routines? Why are they important? How do you kind of implement things like visual schedules in your center that could possibly help? And then setting up the environment. So listening to Tammy chat about all the resources that are available and kind of the full spectrum of things you can bring in. And then we'll take your questions. So I'll start with just a little bit about, what do we mean by environment? And I think the environment can look differently from center to center. I'm very privileged to be able to go through and see centers across Alberta kind of on a weekly, daily kind of schedule, and I get to see things just across the board. I see small centers on very tight budgets. I can see larger centers that have, more to play with, more to be able to fund and bring in different resources. So it is a really large spectrum, but I think as long as the intention is there, we're always trying to improve the environment, make sure that it does, meet the needs of the children in our care, then we're doing a good job and we're doing what we intended to do. We've heard that the environment is often referred to as the third teacher. It shapes behaviors, learning, and relationships in your center. If you have behavior situations and issues coming in your center, a lot of times it is related to the environment and the setup of your space. Environments communicate with the children. It communicates that it's a safe, engaging place where they belong. And they're absolutely more than decor. They influence how smoothly your day runs, how smoothly the child's day runs, and how supported the child is while they're in your care. I thought I would put together kind of 3 topics of environments, of things that I see with scenarios of maybe what's not so great, and then some real life ways that you can improve it. These are like areas that by far, when I go to centers, I see over and over again ways that we could really improve it. And again, this is all open for interpretation. This is your center. You do what works for you and for your children and your educators in your center. But one of the things I often see is your dramatic play area. If you have a dramatic play area in your center, a lot of times it's either overstuffed with costumes, like policemen and doctors and firemen kind of costumes, princess dresses all crammed into one small bin. Sometimes there's broken toys hiding in there. There's food pieces that are missing from, a setup. and it's the same day to day. So when we do that, what we end up seeing is that children are fighting over things into the center, they're bored within 5 minutes, they're not really engaging in a way that it's intended for. And it's really not meeting their interests. You've just essentially pushed a bunch of princess dresses into the corner of your classroom, but maybe that's not what the kids are looking for, and that's not what's going to support them in your center. So without going and spending thousands of dollars on, costumes and different things, there are ways that you can improve the environment of your dramatic play area. You can change, with anything in childcare, rotation, rotation, rotation. Keep the interest going, make sure that it's fresh, and it's really invoking their creativity. There's some pictures of centers with some fairly basic things. I mean, you can go Pinterest crazy on these dramatic play areas, but you don't need to, and it really should reflect what the children are interested in your center at that time. But I mean, having a couple of different things, like this one here is a flower store with some different kind of, looks like pipe cleaner and paper flowers put out, a cash register, just some different things, incorporating the same existing furniture and resources that are already there, but changing it. On the other, we can see maybe looks like a nursery for babies, if that's where the children are really interested in. It's a really easy way just to move some things around and make it kind of a focus in your dramatic play. Bringing in things like scarves and different textures of costumes, and just pieces of like clothing from, a thrift store or different places. Doesn't have to be a specific costume, just pieces that will invoke that play and that creativity are really easy to add in. Even adding in like some basic props and some loose parts into your dramatic play area will extend it and really improve the environment of that space as well. Outside play. Sometimes I go to centers and I am very sad to see what's outside, and I think that over what we do inside with our outside spaces. This example is of a not so great, just a small climber, some minimal toys, limited loose parts, maybe lack of shade too, depending on where you are. When children are bored and not engaged, then conflict arises with them. It makes your job harder. It makes their day harder. Outdoor equipment can be very expensive, and it can be something that's not available to all of us. But just adding a few things into your outdoor space, even bringing things from indoors to outside. Tough trays, we use these in our center all the time. A very easy thing to transition outside. Put some water and bubbles in it. This one has babies and sponges, ramps and building blocks and different things that can be brought outside as well. You can see in the one picture another tough tray with looks like some plastic Legos and balls and different things, some chalk, bubbles, having areas that children can explore and dig, if you have that availability for some natural resources outside, will really help them to enjoy that time outside and really prolong the play. So just some quick tips. Again, I hope this is helping people, but feel free to put your hand up if you want to talk through anything as we go. One of my favorite areas in my own center is our art area. And sometimes I think this is overlooked in centers as being such an important area for children. You can see in this picture just having like some crayons and some paper out. While it's great, it's not going to be a lasting engagement for the children. And it's going to be something that they quickly come to and quickly leave. Some different examples of real centers where you can see how people have set up their art areas or creative areas in different ways. One thing I want to point out is these centers are open to children. The resources are available to them to come and play with and create how they want to. It's not a set up teacher-led craft in these areas. This is meant more for open creativity. You'll see that they have tons of different resources in child-friendly, available bins that they can reach into and open and access when they want to. It's not a closed center. This is an open center. So just some easy ideas. I mean, you can put different things in here. The one picture that's being used has the children's art easily displayed at their own eye level with, looks like clothespins that they can come and maybe put something up when they're finished. But yeah, lots of room for innovation in this area in your center, and for you to be able to implement it in a way that works for you and the space that you have. Thing that we talk about a lot in childcare is, self-regulation, emotional regulation, calming corners being offered into centers, especially if you're someone who has applied for an inclusive spaces grant or maybe are looking at that in the future. A calming corner, the simple thing that you can add into your center if you don't have one already, that will have a really huge impact on your center, and on the long-term learning for the children. What is a calming corner? I do have people ask me that sometimes, and it can look different center to center. Some are really elaborate, some are very simple, but the intention of it is to be a cozy, inviting, quiet space that helps children, practice calming strategies. Sometimes we'll see some visual aids and different things posted in that area to really help them with, those regulation techniques and tips, some breathing strategies and maybe feeling thermometer and those kind of things. Helping them to really connect those signals from their body to what a healthy response would be. It helps children to build independence and choice. Again, this is something that should be open and readily available to children when they need it. They should be able to go to it when they feel like they need to. And by doing that, you're allowing them to have control over that, have control over their self, and build that independence in recognizing that they need that space at that time. It should be a safe place, not a punitive place. I'm sure we all are aware of this. We don't use timeouts and things like that in our center. So it shouldn't be something where someone is sent to as a punitive thing, but it should be a safe place that all feelings are welcome, and that's where they go when they need to have that break. And, having something like this, if you're utilizing it in a way that is really working for the children, you'll notice that it has an impact of returning the calm to your classroom, of reducing the interruptions and behavioral outbursts. So, having something like this available can really help to really modify the behaviors and support your staff as well. Here is some kind of examples of calming corners. So some very basic ideas. This one has a mat and a carpet, some pillows on the ground with a shelf and a few visuals. We see more of a cube idea where there is a visual again about feelings on it. Inside you can see there's like a bin with some books. All great ideas, having something that's comfortable and kids want to go into and feel, safe, and some soft items in there is always a great idea. Weighted lap pads, great resource if you have them. A bin with some fidgets and some books and visuals are also really easy to incorporate into these spaces. We are going to include some visuals for you. I think I provided them and they'll go out with an email after this, just some easy printable things you can use in your center. But sensory toys too, like some stress balls, glitter jars, sand timers, easy again things to just put in here. And you can see at the bottom picture, there's a more elaborate idea of what a calming corner could be in your classroom and in your space. So again, it can be very simple, it can be something that is very elaborate. It's totally up to you, but it's something that you can do on pretty much any budget and with even the smallest of spaces. I'm a huge believer in routines in my center, and visual schedules. I think that it's really important for children to know what's coming, to be able to have control of their day and be able to predict what's coming next. And this is something that, again, if you're not incorporating it, it's very easy to do, very easy to do it on a budget as well. But with routines, it creates predictability, creates security. Children, just like adults, feel safe when you know what's coming next. It takes away some of that anxiety, builds more cooperation, helps with smoothing transitions out. So it'll help to reduce meltdowns, to reduce like wandering and, what's next, what's coming up next kind of questions in your center. But again, if you're having children with the same routines, they know exactly what's coming day after day, you're going to find that a lot of the behaviors are reduced because they know that this might be a difficult time, but I know snack is coming up next and they know what to expect. You're building independence and confidence in them, and you're supporting all. So if you have children where English is maybe not their first language, having some visual schedules will allow them to understand what's coming next. And again, help to reduce that anxiety that they might be feeling in the classroom, especially if they're not understanding all of the language and words that are being used. So this is just some examples of kind of how you could implement a visual schedule, what some of them look like. Again, it's all different, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I personally like to incorporate pictures, real pictures of children doing those activities into ours. But again, it's up to you and what you want in your center. You can find even through things like Teachers Pay Teachers, there's quite a few different templates that you can use for these kind of things. You can also take pictures maybe within your center of the children doing those activities and laminate them and use them for your own. It's important with anything like this, if it's a resource you want the children to use while they're with you, to make sure it's accessible to them, using it at their eye level where they can see it, and reviewing it together with them so that they're participating in that with you. You can make it dynamic. Some people use Velcro or clothespins to kind of move it along as the day goes on. And again, it's an opportunity with children to talk about what's coming next, to talk about if there's any changes. Maybe you have a special activity happening that day, and it gives them an opportunity to participate in that, the day and the flow of how things are going to go for them. All right, so that's it for me today, but I'm going to pass it over to Tammy from Wintergreen. Tammy, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to share it through here?
If it's easier, either way, we can share it through there. If you are able to do it, you've got control, so that would be great.
Sure. Let's see where. Okay. That gonna work? Can you see it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can everybody see it? Okay.
I think so. I'll just move it along as you're going. So tell me if I'm going too fast or anything.
No, that's okay. Thanks, Crystal, for inviting me in to participate with this. This is exciting. And always love to provide support to the childcare sector. A little bit of background about myself. I was an owner operator for several years of a childcare center, and coming back and helping set up environments is kind of full circle for me. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for people. And then, setting up the spaces, so we can go to the second slide there for key elements for engaging spaces. There we go. As everybody knows, so this actually is a picture of a center that we've set up. And as you can see, not only was it just the color choices of the furnishing very natural, very calming. They also created their own tree space that they did, and quite easily this was done with styrofoam. They painted styrofoam circles and hung them from the ceiling. So they can change that out whenever they want to. So that's just part of what that is. Again, making sure that it's age appropriate, size appropriate, furnishings for the kids, flexible layouts for group and individual activities is always a good thing. As we were chatting about, and calming colors, bring colors in as opposed to utilizing your furniture as being colors, because it can be overwhelming. I look back to what my space was, and this was like 2007, and I would completely have changed the whole thing by now. I mean, it's cyclical, and we've seen a whole trend of different things come through, but I think this is really conducive to children staying, calm and feeling safe, and giving them the ability and confidence to move forward in their activities however they choose. So the next one is practical considerations. So this is also another center that we worked with, and the big thing I think is also involve your educators in your design, in the design decisions, because these are the people that will be working with the kids, working with the layouts, and it just, to me, just having that united front in your program makes it work really well, for sure. And as Crystal had mentioned, rotate your materials in and out so there's not any boredom, right? Incorporate nature inside as well as outside. Bring your outside in, and and then again, create the inclusive spaces for the kids. Less is more, in the rooms, because having too much there can be overwhelming for children to make a decision as to what they want to do. Right. And so sensory overload for some children is a huge thing. They don't know how to handle those emotions. They're still learning, right? So I think less is more, creating a few choices for them, and seeing where the interest is, taking your program in that direction for sure. Next slide, please. Again, this is just a couple of areas. So the one on the right-hand side is actually an infant room. And what I liked about this particular infant room is they had a separate area for sleeping. So fully windowed, the supervision is there. But again, those that wake up or in transition, they have the ability to utilize the learning resources and the toys and engage while the others are still sleeping. So that I found was a really great way to design an infant room, for sure. Yeah. And then again, outdoor spaces. Instead of just having a few scooters and maybe a couple of balls, that kind of thing, really think about your space, and utilize it. You don't have to be inside to do your programming or that you want for the kids. So if they're wanting to do artwork, set up stations outside for them to do it, right? If they want to play with the balls, then there's an area that they can do that. So just really put some thought into how that is, and you don't have to go overboard with the spending on it, but this is just an example of some of the outdoor spaces that we provide, but we can also scale things down. And then, a little bit about wintergreen. We've been in the industry for over 47 years, and we partner with our educators and our business owners, and we can do it right from start to finish. Or if you're expanding a room, you're just wanting to change things up, we can do that. The big thing I like to impress upon everyone is making sure that it's your quality resources that you use will last. You're not going to have to keep replacing it. The other thing is make sure wherever you're purchasing these things from, or gathering your resources, make sure that they're Green Guard certified and that they do follow the Canadian standards for safety for the kids, because I think that's important. The Green Guard guarantees that there's minimal or low emissions of any toxins for the kids. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. But happy to answer any questions. I don't want to keep anybody too long, because I know time is precious in this industry, for sure.
Thank you, Tammy. I
You're
just put
welcome.
Tammy's email into the chat too. So if people did want to reach out to Tammy after here with questions, or just to look for some resources, inspiration for your center, you'll have her access right there. I'm gonna go back. So pretty much it, I think, for the Lunch and Learn today. I tried to get through as much as I could, as fast as I could for you. So we'd have some time for questions if it was needed. If there's anything that people have that they want, to talk about, or even just questions around things, we have, a lot of resources here today with Tammy and ourselves. And if you have a question about how you could set up something in your center to make it work better, if you're looking at like a budget option for different things, happy to go through that. if you want to talk to Wayne about child-friendly, he's here too. Yeah, but like any of our lunch and learns, I'll just chat a little bit, I guess. We have these topics. Actually, this was one that someone had asked about, specifically to set up a calming corner and what that actually meant. Um, so I hope I was able to answer that question and give you a couple of different examples. I don't think, any center's ever the same. They're all so different. And Tammy said you should really just be looking at what you can rotate through, keeping it interesting. You'll find that the behaviors in your center will go down if the children are interested and engaged in what's happening. Yeah.
I'm happy to, meet with people, visit with them, go through their spaces if that's what they kind of want a different perspective. Happy to help out at any time. So just feel free to reach out.
I know too, we had the Inclusive Spaces grant, which I think the second phase should be kind of being announced at any moment, and hopefully the third phase is opening up in the fall. Tammy supported a lot of operators with packages that fit the goals and intentions of that grant, resource packages. So if you are thinking about applying for the Inclusive Spaces grant when it opens and you need some help in putting together resources that would qualify for that funding, Tammy's a great resource for that, and it's a really good investment in your center. So someone's asking how often to rotate the toys. Um, I don't think there's like a black or white, sorry, a black or white answer for that. I think read the room and see if children are still really engaged with something. By all means, I would keep it in the center and add to it. So, you can really prolong things even, like a bin of blocks by adding other loose parts to it, ramps, even, different animal figures and things like that, just to kind of prolong it and expand it. For us, like my own personal center, we kind of look at rotating certain things out weekly, just as a schedule if there's things that are not being played with. Definitely on the monthly, I would say to do like a revision and walk through of your space and see how things are working. Maybe look at moving some things around, checking for, if people can access it, if you can see around it, because sometimes we see spaces where things are set up and there's blind areas too for the educators. But yeah, I think it's up to what the kids are interested in, and yeah, totally up to you. But definitely, I would say at least on a monthly, if not sooner. Someone else is asking, we have a little pop-up tent as a calming space with a pillow, stuffy fidgets and things in it. It's nice because some children want time by themselves or away from everything. So this blocks out the visual of what is around them. Yeah, that's a great idea. And super easy and portable to move around your space. Probably not as expensive as some other options too. So you just want to make sure you can still see them in there or hear them, so that you're actively supervising that child as well. Oh, if there's nothing else, I guess we can wrap up for today. We will send out the recording for this, I believe, right? And a small resource package too for you guys, with some feeling posters and some emotional regulation things that you can add to your calming space if you want to. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you know how to reach us. And if you want to put a topic forward for a lunch and learn in the future, if there's something that you're interested in learning more about, or just having a conversation operators to operators, please let us know. The next one we have is going to be on September 3rd. It's hopefully going to be around some wellness and more of a like mental health strategies for our educators and ourselves. And yeah, after that, we're totally open to your suggestions. So whatever you would like to put forward. I noticed someone is just typing in before we close. Losing my voice today. Well, I appreciate you being here today, Tammy and Wayne. Thank you for your time over lunch. And everyone
Pleasure.
else,
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you got to eat some lunch with us today. Thank you. We'll see you in September.
Thank Thanks, everyone. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
Bye.
Bye.